Hello everyone and welcome to another react video of Vampire the Masquerade by Glueboy. This time we're gonna be talking about the clan of the Warlocks, about the Tremere clan. The how should I put it? The most hated or most untrusted by all the kindred in the world. Because they let's remember a bit about their lore. At first, because before they were turned into vampires, they were all mages. Mages with their all unlimited power. They kept doing research, and by trying to get even more power, one of their own, Tremere, if I remember correctly, not sure if it was Tremere or someone else, drank blood from a torpid vampire, and he made everyone. All the other mages that were related to him and his cabal, or however they were organized, to also drink the blood and get turned into vampires. The problem is when they were embraced, when they turned, they pretty much lost all their powers. They in search of getting even more power as mages with unlimited power, the power to bend reality to their will. They ended up being powerless, not having any magic, because as a mage, from what I gathered, you need to have a connection to some entity or something similar that grants you the magic to modify the world itself. When you turn into a vampire, you lose all that, therefore you can't do shit. What have they done in exchange besides just exiling the guy that gave them the idea in the first place? However, they were also idiots for accepting it in the first place. They started experimenting with the blood, with the vampire blood, and they formed something that it is now known in V5 as blood sorcery or blood magic. Which ranges from being able to taste the blood of a kindred, to know their age, their generation, what clan they are, up to the point where you can boil the blood inside anyone. If it is a human, they're instantly dead. If it is a vampire, either they die instantly or they are severely hurt, depending on how well you roll and if they have fortitude. But yeah, and because of that, they are pretty secretive. They will never give anyone blood magic, because they know that if any other Tremere, if you give blood magic to someone and any other Tremere lets other Tremere know that you have given blood magic to someone else, you'd probably be killed. Because they know it is our most powerful trump card. Without it, we will be easy pickings for all our enemies. And that's why they are the most secretive. They have a very strong hierarchy. They know who is in charge, who is above them, how to present themselves, how to talk with those outside of their clan, in order to make sure that they aren't owed enough that they can't say no to giving blood magic to anyone. And yeah, when you have so many enemies, you tend to stay more with your flock. But yeah, let's see what Glueboy has to say. The link to the original video is gonna be in the description, and let's jump right into it.
Do you know what's important in any tabletop game? Wizards. Now, personally, I would consider myself not a big fan of wizards.
I was gonna say, why the hell is it so pixelated?
As I'm not a turbo nerd.
Same.
Well, I would say that normally, except the fact that I like wizards and shit like Pathfinder. In reality, mages are cool, just if they're not in Dungeons and Dragons. Because, you know, I like good games. But anyways, that's where we get things like Clan Tremere. Because even if you're playing a game with vampires, you gotta have wizards. Just because we're in vampire, they're goth. We have immensely goth wizards who study their spell tomes with a nice vintage blood chalice. And also, if you don't like the niche of vampire wizards with blood magic, maybe you want a little, I don't know, vampire Scientology? They all operate in a vampire multi-level marketing scheme.
Yes, indeed.
A bit weirder of a vampire niche if you want to fill it, but that's Clan Tremere.
Yeah.
Which is also, if I'm going to be completely honest, one of my absolute favorite clans in this game. I adore them. Thank you to my channel members for making these videos possible, and a special shout out to Christian Voorhees for subscribing at the highest level. This level of support truly helps the channel, so this is greatly appreciated. Now, what?
Why does that name sound familiar? Voorhees. I think I remember from something that I can put my finger on it. Oh well.
One thing you might have noticed if you've watched my other vampire clan videos is when I'm talking about like the old ass ancient vampire civilizations, I'm talking like the first and second cities, the time of Cain and before the biblical flood. I don't mention Clan Tremere very much. That's for a very good reason, as Clan Tremere is a very recent addition to, you know, the whole clan system and vampire culture. That's because I'm talking they were a thing in like the year 1000 CE. They are new because they kind of forced themselves into this goofy old thing called vampirism.
Yeah.
Originally, Clan Tremere were wizards. I mean, like mages.
Yeah.
Of the game Mage the Ascension. They were part of the Order of Hermes. And they decided to start experimenting with some other avenues of the supernatural when their methods of immortality weren't working anymore. They had these methods to make immortality potions. And they were like, damn, they ain't hitting right. They're just not working. They started investigating.
Just as I said in my first react to Vampire the Masquerade, the vampires are the only material supernatural beings that are immortal by default. Like werewolves aren't immortal by default, mages aren't immortal by default. They have to find ways to prolong their life. However, kindred, nope, they just live forever as long as they aren't killed.
Specifically, a man with the most evil sounding name, Goratrix, decided to start really digging. How did he do this? Well, it's simple. Kidnap a bunch of the Zamiski vampires, you know.
Ah, right, I forgot that. They drank blood from a tsimitsi. If the original idea of drinking blood from a vampire wasn't an obvious hint, they drank from a tsimitsi. That should have been obvious that they shouldn't have done that.
The ones who think torturing is a perfectly good pastime.
Yes.
And torture them back and start investigating ways of immortality. Of course, he did this in secret and eventually came up with a pretty cool ritual. You know, their magic isn't working, and he found, finally, a way to undo all this and give them eternal life. So he set up a ritual between him and his 6 other friends. Very notably, the leader of their house, the man himself, Tremere, took part in this ritual.
Yeah,
now,
not Tremere,
this vampire of Clan Zamiski, and basically all forced themselves to become embraced and became vampires. Now, Goratrix thought this would be a pretty good deal, as he thought he could become a vampire with his buddies with 0 downsides.
Yeah.
As we know, that's stupid. That's not how this works at all. He had all the downsides of vampirism.
Researchers bias, they're a bunch of idiots.
Including the fact that his avatar, a very important thing for Mage the Ascension,
Yeah, avatar.
I will get to it later. I'll talk about that later. I'll put a pin in that. His avatar disconnected. All of their avatars gone. They're not mages anymore. They're just vampires. He also didn't tell the other guys about this. He didn't tell them they were going to become vampires, because that's the smart thing to do. Tremere is the only reason that Goratrix didn't get murdered by the other dudes that day. It's also up in the air if he even told Tremere this was the plot. I don't know, man. This dude seems like a fucking loose cannon.
Yeah.
But they had to make their bed now. They were vampires, and also they had the Zamiski on their back, who really didn't like what they were doing. They also had the wizards on their back, because now a chunk of the Order of Hermes saw that, wow, these dudes turned into vampires. Fuck them, let's go kill them. Obviously, they're in a pretty rough boat. They entered the world of vampires with 0 understanding of what the vampire world was
Welcome to the vampire world. Everyone wants to kill you.
Do? Difficult situations. Well, Tremere, he, the head of the house, started reading about this goofy old thing known as diablerie. Simply, you know, works like this. You have your blood generation.
He read about... What the hell did you even read about? Is there like a mage vampire hybrid library where you read about diablerie? Where the hell did he even read it? Okay, you know, No, I'm confused.
You drink a vampire of a higher generation, you kind of take their spot. And, more potent your blood, the stronger you are, the higher you get up to Cain. Easy money. So he keeps hearing all these stories of the antediluvians. Well, obviously he wants to get that cool. But, where are the antediluvians at? It's the year 1000 CE. Where are they at? They're all like gone in the flood, so he tracks them down. Here's the question. You're perfectly logical, smart mages that you are. So you need to track down an antediluvian. So what do? And you're also a bunch of mages that no one trusts. No one likes you. You're a bunch of newcomers. You're usurpers. You're a bunch of weird warlocks that everyone doesn't trust because you just kind of forced yourself into the scene. You're a bunch of posers. So obviously, you go find the antediluvian that literally everybody likes. Saulot, the antediluvian for the salubri. Maybe.
Ooh.
There's actually conflicting sources on whether or not the whole thing of Saulot being adored and a decent dude is true or vampire propaganda. Or we'll see. It's really complicated and a really interesting question that I'll cover at some point. But Tremere tracked down the tomb of the sleeping Saulot and drank him. Whether or not Saulot was actually willing for this is another interesting question that I'll cover when I eventually talk about Saulot.
Why the hell would he be?
Details on this than I thought there were.
How would
But Tremere drank him. It's like, damn,
Okay.
blood hit different. I'm gonna take a nap. And went to torpor immediately. This left Clan Tremere in a really weird state. Tremere is in torpor. He's in basically a coma. Their leader is gone. They have their pyramid structure. Another thing I'm going to put a pin into, I will talk at later. This is very important.
The pyramid basically being the Tremere hierarchy. As the Camarilla has its own hierarchy, the Tremere have their own hierarchy that the Camarilla can do shit to interfere into it.
When it comes to the Tremere. The other dudes I talked about, like those 6 other guys, they form what is known as like the pyramid structure. They're leading in his stead. As like Tremere's at the top and it all descends downward, as like a pyramid does,
Yeah.
The whole drinking of Saulot, pretty big deal, obviously. No one's happy about this. Specifically, his clan, the Salubri. They're pissed as they start talking about the Tremere, a bunch of Diablerists and a bunch of murderers, and we can't trust them. Well, simply put, the Tremere had enough people in the right positions. They were court mages, they were advisors, just a couple people. They were still a new clan, not fully trusted, but, you have a few clever people in the right ear. And then simply all they had to do was just say, nuh-uh, and I know you are, but what am I? I wish I was kidding. They roughly said that. They just flipped it on the Salubris and said, nah, you guys did it. And then the other vampires were like, damn, good point, Tremere's.
Yeah.
And which is what leads to the Salubri being hunted down and like basically all wiped out. There's like a handful.
A handful of
This also
Salubri, yeah.
leads to-
And apparently the Salubri blood is the most delicious. And if a kindred drinks blood of the Salubri, there's a good chance they won't be able to drink anything else until they drain a Salubri.
Clan Tremere now having decent amount of power, as eventually they would rise up to become a very, very notable clan when it came to the Convention of Thorns with the formation of the Camarilla. As when it comes to like the top dogs in the Camarilla is the Toreador, the Ventru, and the Tremere. It is those 3. However, on the other hand, the Tremere are like banned a lot. They're all the time banned from big cities. Like a pretty prominent example is Seattle. A city I like hail from, kinda. The one part of Vampire Bloodlines that I'm excited about is the fact it's in Seattle. But like, they only recently got access to Seattle because Alec Cross said they could come back. But like, yeah, they just get banned all the time because no one fucking likes them. Still. And the only reason they were even like acknowledged during the Convention of Thorns is because all those shitheads who did the ritual back in the day are dead. Or like close enough to it and like not present anymore that doesn't even matter. So like, because they're not around, the people don't care what they're getting up to, so like whatever. Like the Tremere are fine. Now let's talk about those disciplines that Clan Tremere gets. Now, let's knock the 2 really easy basic ones off, the less interesting bits.
Auspex
So you are going to
and
get
Dominate.
Auspex, which is, supernatural perception, which mainly you're going to be using this to like see the unseen.
Yeah.
And then dominate so you can supernaturally
Oh no, yeah, I said I had dominate, yeah.
take people's minds over and make them do whatever you
Not
want.
that important
Now,
anyway.
the interesting bit, blood magic.
Yeah.
Thaumaturgy and anything that's not Vampire 5th edition and blood
If you play a Tremere and you don't focus on blood magic, on blood sorcery, blood magic the most, you're doing something wrong.
sorcery and V5. Remember what I talked about when it came to the avatars and the fact that they are mages from Mage the Ascension? So I gotta touch on that briefly. So like, understandably, what is the difference? Like, they have magic still, but they also have the same kind of magic as like the Banu Hakim, who also use like thaumaturgy, just they have different spells basically. Okay, so the idea of like an avatar, the thing that got cut off from. In Mage, reality is fake and your avatar is a thing that is basically your access to your power. Once you awaken to the idea that like reality's fake, your avatar is literally a separate personality, but also a portion of your soul. It's like its own driving force in your life that pushes you to ascension. And another way of putting it, I guess, is in Mage, you have like true magic, which is basically reality bending. You can just do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The magic in that game is kind of just the word yes. But on the other hand, you also recruit something called paradox. You do something that reality doesn't like, you can throw fireballs, but if people see you do it, you're like, people can't do that, that ain't real. So reality sends spirits that try to correct it as like reality police, paradox. It's interesting, it's weird.
As I said, if you want, again, just as the phase, if you want to understand how to play a mage, you need a few master's degrees or something. It is really complicated. Even the system to play the tabletop requires you a deep dive and to focus and to do proper research to have the slightest idea how to play, because it's so difficult and so weirdly worded that you will not understand how to play. You won't understand the powers themselves.
Now,
But if you get it, you can get into a car and teleport that car into your friend's apartment out of nowhere. No hole in the wall or the rooftop. No, you just appear there.
to the annoyance of mages, things like vampires don't have to worry about that. But, blood magic isn't as powerful. Now, that's not to say blood sorcery isn't scary. They can do some cool stuff. Some example powers is things like drink you from far away. Or if they really want to, with a little bit of prep, they can just boil your blood.
Yes.
Start boiling it. And even the Banu Hakim magic is pretty scary.
Yeah. In V20, there are different types of blood sorcery. One of them allows you to manipulate lightning and throw thunderbolts from your hands into your enemies. And if they are kindred, that's basically throwing the sun at them and they die almost instantly or close to instantly.
And then also, if you go into anything that isn't V5, you get some absolutely goofy powers, as there's so many paths you can go down and get increased.
That of technomancy.
And now your compulsion.
I don't know about that.
So, alright, real quick, your compulsion. Perfectionism. You're a wizard. Of course
you're a nerd.
Weird little perfectionist. This is fitting for Tremere. This is just how it be. Now your Bane. This is where it gets... Okay, so you know that thing I was talking about when it comes to the pyramid? I'm going to talk about it here. So the pyramid is literally a pyramid scheme, starting at the top where you get, Tremere and going all the way down. How it's set up is you got chantries in each domain. You serve up to the regent. Regent is the highest dude at the peak in
Chantry basically being the Tremere of the city. They're all placed into one building. That's gonna be the chantry where you all sleep, study, and so on. And that place is ruled by, as you said, the regent. The regent is more like the administrative sort. You have to respect his role, but he doesn't have all the power in the chantry. That's for the upper crust.
Inside of the domain, serving underneath it in all its own little tiers. Now you might start as a new neophyte joining in the city. You live inside the chantry. Every single one of the Tremere live inside this place. Now, It's all sorted in these little mini tiers with their own little like subgroups with all their own little weird magic names, all with pretentious ass like wizard shit, all with backstabby politics inside of it, playing the game to try to get the slightest bit of promotion, doing whatever they can for like the person.
For the Tremere, you have to deal with Camarilla vampire politics and intrigue and backstabbing, but also with Tremere politics, intrigue and backstabbing. So you have to play the politics game twice. Even more fun and more of a pain in the ass for people who don't usually play it.
Person right above them so they can ascend up a tier, get a little more powerful. As that's literally the game. You are ascending in Scientology, but vampire Scientology, as you go up the corporate step ladder. That's the Tremere way. But oh no, it gets worse, because what holds the pyramid together? The blood bond. Now, the blood bond, if you're a vampire and you drink another vampire's blood, you are physically and supernaturally indebted to them as like a thrall. So like, say you're blood bonded to somebody and they order you to do something, you have to do it. You are actually compelled and you have to physically compel yourself, spending like willpower.
Also, because you're bonded, bonding also works like you like the person, you love them. So if they tell you something, you're gonna be like, of course, my dear, I'm always gonna do whatever you say because I love you. You're gonna do whatever they tell you with a smile on your face and hoping they're gonna praise you at the end.
To not. It is hard. It is also, if you're blood bonded, difficult to even leave the fucking city that the person you're blood bonded to lives
Yes.
in. Now, originally, their bane was that you would start blood bonded, and it's easier to get blood bonded because of your internal system. This was originally this case until 2008 happened, because in Vienna, where the main chantry was with all those like big top dog members of the pyramid, the Second Inquisition came and killed them. When they murdered, the pyramid collapsed because all those blood bonds came absolutely tumbling down and the pyramid collapsed to where the current bane is that Clan Tremere cannot bloodbind at all. It is shut off from them, which is pretty bad because what do when you have a horrifically authoritarian organizational structure with the method of using your organization shut off from you? It's pretty bad. It's pretty rough. By the way, all this is kept secret, so they don't want to talk about it to the other clans because how do you open this discussion? It's pretty rough. But
How do you open to the other vampire clans in a meeting and say, guys, heads up, we are basically 10 times weaker than we've been before. They're gonna look at you and be like, you look tasty tonight.
This is that's Clan Tremere in a nutshell. There's more little details hidden about. There's more to talk about. I didn't even get into like the gargoyles and the other random tidbits, but
yeah,
they're great. There's a lot more to like love about them. Like I said, they're one of my favorites. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. If you like this, like, comment, subscribe, join my membership, and
okay, and this has been Clan Tremere Lore by Glueboy. I played once a Tremere. I'd recommend playing a Tremere only after you've played a few vampire games where you also played the politics game, not just staying in the shadows waiting for a mission and then trying to do your thing without breaking the Masquerade. No, if you want to play a good Tremere, you have to understand how to socialize, how to hide things, how to use your words, and how to play the long politics game. But yeah, they are a unique clan. Blood sorcery, absolutely amazing. Also, the rituals. He hasn't even talked about the rituals. Let's try something. Okay, so the Tremere have blood sorcery, the ability to turn their blood into different skills, such as okay, as I said, the Tremere and the Banu Hakim would usually have like different sorceries lore-wise. However, you in the terms of, mechanics playing the game, you can pretty much pick anything you want from here as long as you have the necessary levels, therefore the dots, the knowledge of your discipline. So as you can choose things like corrosive vate, which allows you to turn your blood into a corrosive substance that you can use to destroy locks and doorknobs and something like that. Or, as I said, the taste for blood, the ability to taste the blood of a kindred and know things about them depending on your successes in your role. And then the Tremere, because of their blood sorcery, also have the ability to perform rituals. Rituals being the skill and the knowledge of using the blood to make different things, like wards that you can put on items, on clothes, on furnishment, on doors, in order to protect yourselves from different beings. Depending on your blood sorcery, you may have level 1 rituals, such as ward against ghouls. Ghouls being, as you know, the vampire slaves that have drank blood from their master. You can create a ward that will protect you from any type of ghouls, or rituals that will allow you to walk like an insect on walls, on rooftops, up to the point where you can make rituals. That's something else. Where is it? Okay, where you can basically create a two ways teleporting mechanic, where you put a circle using your blood in one place and another one in another place, and you can use that circle to teleport yourself without any worries. You can be in Germany, make a word in Germany, then go to the US in Chicago, make that word in Chicago. If anything bad happens in Chicago, step on that circle, you are teleported back to Germany. And from what I know, unless you have specifically made that thing or you know how to use the teleporting circle, you have no way of using it. So yeah, rituals are something completely broken, just as much as the blood sorcery, if you can do it right. So yeah, this has been a bit of my information that I gave you on the Tremere and the blood sorcery and rituals. Hope all of you have enjoyed it, and see you all next time.